Welcome to MySwimPro. My name is Ksebati, co-founder and CEO of MySwimPro. Here, it's all about helping you improve your performance and health, swimming faster and smarter than ever before. So if you guys are new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. I believe we're on Twitter as well. So if you're not following us on all of our social media, make sure you go ahead and do that. Today, we are talking about breathing. We're talking about breath control. We're talking about something that you have to do in the water. So if you're trying to take your swimming to the next level, if you want to improve your capacity, your fitness, your endurance, and on every level get better in the water, whether you're trying to improve your comfort level and be more confident in the water, or you're trying to swim faster and you're going for that best time in the 50 freestyle, 200 freestyle, whatever event you may be in, you have come to the right place, because today we're not only going to talk about the technique of breathing and the fundamentals that you need to do so that you can take your swimming to that next point in your progression, but also because I have two special guests that are going to join us in a few minutes from AeroFit. I'm very excited to bring these guys on. We've got Jacob and Christian. We have the CEO of AeroFit is going to join us. And if you guys are not familiar with this, with what they do, they're going to tell you about it, and they're also going to show you how you can improve your swimming through everything that they're working on. So I'm going to bring them on in just a few minutes. But the first thing that I want to do, I want to talk about breathing from a technical perspective, because we know that in swimming, if you want to swim faster, there's really only two ways that you can actually swim faster from a mechanical perspective. You can either reduce drag or you can increase propulsion. And so reducing drag is really important because water is 800 times more resistive than air. I mean, just think about that for a second. Think about if you're trying to move through a medium, right? So if you're walking or you're running, right? You have wind resistance. So you're moving through the air. If you stick your hand out of the window in a car, you can feel the resistance of the air. Well, guess what? When you're in the water is 800 times more resistive than air. And so if you're trying to move through this medium, which is water, you have to make your body more efficient and reduce the amount of drag that you have. And so what I'm going to do right now, that's the part we're going to focus on when it comes to breathing. So I'm actually going to pull on screen an animation of Bob and Annie. We love these characters. And I'm going to share with you a few different pointers about the breathing technique. So let me pull that onto screen. So right now on the screen, we have Bob and Annie. We've got Bob on top, Annie on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and put myself back on screen as well. So if you take a look at their breath, I want you to pay attention to a few different things right now. And this is playing on loop. It's not going anywhere. So if you take a look at Bob or Annie, pick your favorite character, look at their head position. When they're not breathing, their eyes are looking down. And so if you think about that, why are they looking down? It's to keep their hips in line with the rest of their body. There's very minimal drag, and by focusing on keeping your eyes down, you're going to decrease the total drag of your swimming. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's great, but I'm trying to breathe. How do I breathe? So the biggest mistake that you can do when you're breathing and swimming is by lifting your head up and basically breaking this body position. So I'm going to go ahead and restart the clip. So keep an eye on what's happening when the breath is taking place. The body is rotating to the side and the head is rotating in this natural progression. And if you look really closely, I'm actually going to pause it when Bob is taking his breath. So look right now. If you look at the water line and you look at Bob's face, he's taking his breath, but his head position is still like horizontal, as if he's laying on his side. And you can actually see one eye is in the water. So you have one eye in the water, one ear is still in the water, and one eye is out of the water. And the more you can focus on holding that position while you take the breath, the less drag you're going to create, and therefore you're not disrupting the mechanics of the stroke. So it's really important that you focus on maintaining that body posture while you take the breath. And it's really great to visualize it with these character animations, because they're doing it in some ways better than a human can actually do this. So you want to train your mind to see this playing out as to what is almost the ideal scenario. Because what happens is when you take a breath, your body's actually going to sink. So because these are character animations, they're not actually sinking. This is like this is almost too good to be true. So what happens when you're swimming, if you're not moving very fast and you take a breath, you're actually going to sink in the water. And that's why it's really important to try and keep the breath as a part of the stroke. So that's like the first thing. So you got to square that away. When you take your breath, try and keep your head position in line with the rest of your body. So it's a natural part of the rotation. Now, another thing to pay attention to is not only the head position, but what's happening with the pull. So if you look at the pull, it's hard to see from the side angle, but what you can see is from the moment the fingertips enter the water, they're pulling in a straight line back to the hip. So there's no crossing over. If we were to rotate these swimmers 90 degrees, you would notice that it's a straight line from the moment they enter their fingertips into the water in front of the shoulder, and then that pull pattern is a straight line going back. That's really important because if you're not in a straight line, right? So if you look at myself here on the screen, if your hand crosses over that midline of your body, what's going to happen is you're actually going to cross over, and it's going to make your body lopsided, and it's going to make it that much more difficult to breathe. So when we talk about improving your breath, there's two elements of it, right? Well, there's two elements to getting better at swimming. So the first one is reduced drag, and the second one is increased propulsion. If we're thinking about, well, how do I get better at breathing and breath control in general? Like, I'm trying to get faster at swimming, but how do I actually get better at breath control? So there's two ways. So number one is technique, which we just talked about it. And there's another way through training. So when we think about, well, okay, I'm trying to train myself. So does that mean I just hold my breath and then I just hold my breath on everything? No, don't do that. You don't want to hold your breath when you swim. There's a natural flow of oxygen, inhale, exhale. But there's ways that you can do this in the pool, and there's ways that you can train your breath that way when you're swimming. But there's also ways that you can train out of the water. And that's why I'm so excited to share today's 30-minute webinar with you guys with two outstanding guests from the AeroFit team. So I'm going to go ahead and bring both of them on here. We have Jacob and Christian from AeroFit. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. They're going to tell you a little bit about themselves, and they're going to tell you guys some things that are just absolutely mind-blowing at how you can improve your breath control, your capacity. I've actually used the product that they've created, and I've been able to improve my vital lung capacity by about 25%. So that's pretty remarkable in a pretty reasonable period of time. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring these guys on here. Super excited to have them. Jacob, Christian, how are you guys doing?
Thank you.
Good to meet you. Thank you so much for having us on.
That's awesome. Really a pleasure being here.
Super, super. Well, we're very excited to have you guys on here. So I'm going to let you both introduce yourselves. So Christian, why don't you just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you so much, Faris. It's a pleasure being here. My name is Christian Tulberg. I'm CEO and founder of AeroFit. And maybe I could start with a little story about it all started. I'm originally... I've been doing a lot of sports, but not so much swimming actually. But I found a device made for asthma and COPD training, and I was a singer. I was a classical singer, so I used it for singers. Long story short, then I have three sons, and they all started in swimming and actually became pretty good at it. And the oldest one, when he was 15, he actually qualified for the Nordic Championships. It's Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, the Baltics. And then I said to him, there was something about this device where you could train your lungs. It also had application for athletes. So why don't you try it? So he trained for 3 months. And he went for the Nordics, and he returned with 7 gold medals as the by far best swimmer of these competitions. So that's where it really started. That was the kickoff for AeroFit, because I couldn't just say, okay, let's forget about this. So that's where we had a head start on AeroFit.
That's awesome. And when did you launch the company?
It's Copenhagen, Denmark. Yeah.
And how long have you guys been building?
Yeah, it's for almost 6 years. We have been into the market 2.5 years now, and we are in 125 countries worldwide. Our biggest market is actually US, and it's for a lot of different athletes. It's mostly bikers and swimmers that are using it, but we also have a lot of other athletes in different categories, and even people suffering from lung diseases and COVID and things like that.
Okay, great. Well, I definitely want to learn more about how it works. Well, I already know how it works, but for our viewers, they can learn how it works and how it can help them with their swimming. But first, Jacob, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you for having us on, Ferris. My background in this, I came from a corporate world where I was selling cosmetics, and I have three sons as well. It's not that's not a pre-qualifier to be hired by AeroFit, by the way, might add. Uh, but that being said, they all suffer from asthma. And one of my good friends, who's also a breathing expert, came to my house and he goes, "You boys does not have asthma. They just don't know how to breathe. They need to practice breathing." So I was like, huh, how do you do that? And then it was resistance trainings that he taught them, which is more or less what we do here at AeroFit, but we just do it in a smarter way. And within one day of training, they never had an asthma attack since and left the medicine away. And I was like blown away and going, huh, how is that even possible that our physicians and doctors didn't catch that or teach us that instead of putting us full of medicine? And it's like, and my as Christian sons, one of my sons is also hard in elite athlete. He's on the national team on wrestling, and he's using the AeroFit every day, and his progression is quite interesting because you also see him getting bigger that way. But he's grown about 65% over the course of 1 year of training. Of course, that is also because he's getting older. He's 17 now, but it's inspiring to see. And I was mentioned that that you had your progression or your of lung capacity, because we see the same thing across the board from across all ages as well. Because as we see, we're going to announce that data in a blog that comes out next week, which is we have a database which is the biggest in the world on lung training, and what we see is that within 28 days and 200 minutes of training within those days, so about 5 to 7 minutes a day, then we see an overall like an increase of their lung capacity by 30%. So it's kind of mind blowing, and that is part of the reason that people across athletes and sports and categories and ages find it useful regardless of what their state.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I think that's a fantastic background for both of you guys. Christian, I want to ask you, for someone who's a swimmer, right? And you have, I know your kids swim.
Yeah.
What have you seen from your perspective is like, if a swimmer is trying to improve their breath, what have you found is like a biggest challenge of like why they're not able to do this? Like they've kind of plateaued, right? Whether they're trying to swim the 50 freestyle and now they can't do it, they can't do it in less than one breath or two breaths. They're plateaued. Why do you think that is? And what are some ways that they could fix that?
Yeah, first I have to have a disclaimer. I'm not a medical doctor, but I still have some perspectives on it. When you, my oldest son, all three sons are competitive athletes at the national level in Denmark. The oldest one, he's got a scholarship in Chapel Hill in US, the one I told you about before. But they are all very much in the sprint part, and the what we can see is that their ability to stay with less oxygen for longer has increased, and their ability to recover has also increased. So they are back for the next sprint again if there are several runs in a tournament. Um, there, there's there are a lot of different things that are in play. One of them is that when you actually train your respiratory muscle system specifically, it gets stronger and it gets more efficient. So when you have stronger and more efficient muscles, they don't use as much energy to perform the same. That leaves more energy for the rest of the body. That gives, of course, that is an effect that is more efficient for the longer distances, uh, but but uh, but for my boys, it's a matter of that they don't need to breathe as much, and you show this in the beginning, how significant that is. It's also uh, they report back that their ability to do the underwater work is much better because they are not suffering when they're doing their turns. Uh, so there's a lot of elements in it, and some of them are described in literature. Some of them are not yet. The thing that Jacob mentioned about increased vital lung capacity is not very described in the literature, but it will be now. But the part about actually uh, training your muscles and improve the performance of them, that is really well described
Hmm.
in a lot of sports.
Yeah. So help me understand better. Like, how is the training actually work? So we know in the pool, it's there's certain ways that you can improve your breath control. So one of them is comfort. Just going to the pool and swimming for a beginner, just being comfortable around the water, starting slow, blowing bubbles. But then as you get more advanced and you're doing it from a training perspective, I mean, in the pool, there's a lot of different sets that you can do where you're intentionally focusing on breathing every 3 strokes or breathing every 5 strokes, and you start to build confidence around, okay, I can do this breathing every 3 strokes, every 5 strokes. But there's a limit to that. So I think I'd really like to hear you guys, your perspective when you're training out of the water. Like, how is that actually going to be different than, say, a set that I'm going to do in the pool?
Yeah, it's like doing dry land training, right? Why don't you just swim all day? Yeah, it's because it's more efficient to do something else as well. And this is the dry land training for your lungs, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So when your lungs have the ability, when your lung muscles, that's diaphragm primary, when they are stronger, when you train them with resistance, that's just like dumbbells, right? Dumbbells for the lungs. When you have done that, your ability to breathe fast is increased, and that means, as you showed at your beautiful animation, I really loved it. I hope I can get a copy one day. Uh, then then you can decrease the time where you actually have turned your head, uh, and in that way you will get better flow in the water, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. We're gonna start putting some questions here on the screen. So one question we're facilitating here. So I already mentioned in the pool a set where you breathe every 3 strokes or every 5 strokes. I want to hear from you guys. How does a training plan work in the AeroFit app with the product, right? So walk us through, like, what is that set and drill? What does that actually look like?
Okay, maybe I should show you a device and the
Sure. Uh-huh.
system first.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
that'd be great.
okay, so the AeroFit consists of actually two things. It's a physical training device like this.
Mm-hmm. There it
Let's
is.
put it right. Yeah.
Yep.
And there's different resistances. Uh, it's maybe you could help me here.
Yeah, yeah, I think right in the middle. Right there. Perfect.
Good.
Perfect. Uh-huh.
Perfect. Yeah. So you have different resistance in and out. where you can actually adjust, you can say the dumbbell size. Then you connect to a smartphone app that's electronic here, and then you have the smartphone with a virtual coach. That and if you say, okay, I am Faris, I'm a super elite athlete, I'm 24 years old and never kissed, then you put that into the app, and it says, okay, then you need to train this program, this specific program for swimmer, 24 years old, never kissed, and then it gives you the direction of different kind of sessions. And a session can be a very simple session where you just what we call have circular breathing, where it's just in and out with resistance. But there are a lot of different other breathing patterns with resistance on that gives meaning for different kind of purposes. You could also have in the other end something like box breathing, where you actually have an inhalation, hold, exhalation, hold, inhalation, hold, and you all do that in your device while you are getting guided from the app, and the app can tell if you're doing it right and adjust you if you are not doing it right.
Uh-huh. Yeah, one of
Does
the
it make
things,
sense?
yeah, one of the things that I like about the app, it feels like you're in like a video game and you're controlling it with your lungs. I'm trying to remember the game where you're moving through you're moving through like a cave or something. But anyway, it's very engaging and it's difficult for you feel like you're getting a workout in, but it's not that difficult to follow how it works. It's pretty easy to use. We just pulled on another question. How often should someone use it? So like what is the frequency where you start to see results?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Uh, you can the best answer is actually train every day, 2 to 5 minutes a day, um, two times 5 minutes a day, so up to 10 minutes a day. And if you do that for 4 weeks, you can see a significantly improved performance, both in your breathing capacity, your strength of your breathing muscles, also in your uh, vital capacity function. But you will also begin to see results in your swimming.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think just to reinforce, you said 2 to 5 minutes. This isn't when we think
Two
about
times four. No,
y-
two times five.
right, right, right.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, either way, it's not a 2 hour session. I think sometimes we think if we want to be better at something, we have to do it a lot. You have to train, 2 3 hours every single day. And if you're trying to be at a world class level, you do have to put in the time. I'm not saying that if you're trying to improve in anything in life, whether it's your breath control or in school and academics, you do have to put in the work. But if you're really
Yes.
smart about the time that you're putting in, and I think what I love about your product is that you can do it in a relatively short period of time. But like you said, the most important thing is doing it consistently. And just like anything else, if you want to get better at something, you have to do it consistently. You can't do something once every week or once every 2 weeks and expect to see much results. So I think that's a really good point. I'm going to pull up another question. This is a very common question. I'll take my stab at answering it, and then you guys can add anything if you'd like. So, how can I do a no breath 50 freestyle? So, well, first of all, you might be thinking, why would anyone want to do that? That sounds terrible. So, at an elite level, if you're trying to swim faster, you actually, breathing is not the fastest thing for you. So you might be faster when you don't take a breath. And the reason for that is many, you can maintain a higher turnover. And remember when I showed the Bob and Annie animation, when I showed them swimming, when you turn your head to take a breath, you're actually sinking your body position a little bit. It didn't really show in the animation, but in real life, you're going to sink a little bit. So if you can reduce the number of times that you take a breath, you're actually going to swim faster. Now, that only works if you don't slow down. So a lot of people can do the 50 freestyle without taking a breath, or they can do it in one breath or two breaths. But what happens is your body starts to fatigue and you start to basically fall apart. And so by the end of it, you're swimming really slow. And so it'd be faster if you took a breath. But what we're talking about today is if you can improve the muscles around your body, if you can increase the flexibility of your diaphragm, that way it'll make it easier to do the 50 in 1 breath or 2 breaths. Or if you can do it in 0 breaths, it'll make it that much easier. It won't be easy, but you can make progress towards that. And if you can do the training in the pool, so you're doing the breath control work in the water, and you're complementing that with a training program out of the water, Christian mentioned it's like dry land for your lungs. Well, that's really the best solution, really. Then you're giving yourself every chance that you can because you're putting in the work in the pool. You know the game plan in the water, and then out of the water, you're developing the strength and the flexibility around your whole core musculature, basically, and you're also training your mind of what it takes to make it happen. So I think it's both physiologically as well as a mental component. Do you guys have anything you want to add to that?
I think you're completely right, Faris. And I think with the AeroFit you actually have you need to. I cannot guarantee this champ here that he can do a no breath 53 and do it faster without. Than with a single or 2 breath. I don't know his capabilities, his potential, but if he's on 1 breath, I think he's had the possibility. Anyway, I think that 2 elements that you mentioned that are right. The flexibility, making the thorax more flexible, and also make the flexibility of the lungs larger, because that will improve, you can say, the reservoir of what you have. So there's the hardcore part, and then there's also the mental part, as you mentioned, where you actually and you can do that without oxygen and with oxygen, where you train your breath hold. You can do that, of course, with the AeroFit. You can also do that without, but it's more controlled to do it with your AeroFit.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to go ahead and put some comments here on screen. So Helen says, I did a 50 free without breathing with a flip turn after 28 days of use. So that's pretty awesome. So again, you don't have to try and do a 50 freestyle with no breath. It might be 1, it might be 2, it might be 3. But wherever you are, you can probably elevate yourself to the next level. And here's just an example. Here's another example. I'm a beginner 50-year-old swimmer, and AeroFit helps me to improve my resistance, so it is good for any age. Well done, guys. So that's great. There's a success story. Awesome. So we're running. Yeah, that's awesome. So running a little bit tight on time. I guess, is there anything else that a swimmer or someone potentially, they're considering the AeroFit breathing training program, is there anything else that they should know about before they give it a try? And actually, before you guys answer that, I want to make sure that we put here, first pinned comment, we do have a 15% off exclusive promo code for you guys. So make sure you check out the link down below. It's right here on the screen. And you can get a discount and you can get started. So that being said, do you guys have anything you want to add for all the viewers?
Yeah. Let me jump in here. I wanted to add one more thing, because we speak about diaphragmatic breathing, but 90% of us goes up and do upper chest breathing. When we do upper chest breathing, we actually use a lot of other muscles that is not necessary for the breathing part. Part of what AeroFit does is actually change the nervous system way of breathing, so you become comfortable at doing belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, and that is happening automatically during the first 28 days as well. So without one of the things that we're talking about here is the muscle strength that you're building, but more importantly, that you're actually starting activating the right muscles to breathe with. And that is happening besides the other benefits associated to this.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I would like to add one more thing, and that is if you look at the ways that you can train your body, the way you can get more power, more efficiency in your sports, then I would say that breathing training is the last revealed place where you can actually get much more for very little. I think if you want performance like this, you need to improvements like this. You need to train very hard and for a very long time, very hard interval training for a long period of time. We have seen that in several studies showing that if you should have the same improvement in speed, then you should make longer and more very exhausting interval trainings compared to very short breathing trainings. So I think this is a very short and easy way to get a really good impact.
Awesome. Gentlemen, we're just about out of time, but I want to thank you guys once again for coming on, and I want to make sure everyone watching knows that you can get a 15% off promo for AeroFit. Make sure you check it out. First pinned comment of this video, and also check it out at the URL. Any final words, guys?
Yeah, keep breathing.
I love it. I love it. Keep breathing, guys. Very important. And yeah, like I said, this is something that I've used personally. In the past, I've seen performance gains. And I come from the perspective of already being a relatively solid swimmer, and I was still able to make pretty significant gains in the water by this, we can call it dry land training for your lungs out of the water. So definitely recommend it. And thanks again, guys, for coming on. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Ferris. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Take care.
Okay. There you guys have it. I hope you enjoyed this exclusive talk that we had with the CEO of AeroFit, Christian, and Director of Sales, Jacob. So I'm really excited that they were able to come on. An awesome application and product. I just pulled up the app, actually. You guys can see it right here in the screen. It's amazing. Next video we do with them, we'll probably pull on this app on the screen, and you can see all the analytics right there. Very, very cool. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys with a fun video that basically overviews AeroFit, the company, and its story, but definitely encourage you guys to go and watch the beginning of this video where I talked about technique, and also make sure you check out some of the other Q&A portions of this video. It's going to be on YouTube and Facebook, so you guys can check that out at any time in the future. That being said, I wish you the best, happy swimming, and keep breathing.
The key to take your training results to the next level is not just to work harder, faster, longer. It's your breathing. AeroFit is a state-of-the-art breathing training system and performance-enhancing device. The lightweight mouthpiece is connected to a progressive app with multiple engaging programs, tests, and personal feedback. Scientific studies show that by increasing your respiratory strength, you can radically improve your physical performance. AeroFit has proven to increase athletes' lung capacity with as much as 8% in less than 8 weeks. This creates serious results. This creates champions. Breathing has been underestimated in sports for way too long, but not anymore. Athletes training with AeroFit get more energy, stamina, and cut time off their races. As a professional CrossFitter with a degree in bioengineering, Frederick Agidius knows that science can propel things to the next level. This is why he uses AeroFit to push his results and perform more efficiently than ever before. Be at the top of your game. AeroFit. Stay